have 1 week to go. The opening is in a week from today. We're behind schedule a lot because the weather has been really bad. We're about 80% done. You can see there's a gap here where the final panels have to go on. When people walk by, they ask, does it say something? Which is what we were originally interested in. In the same way that it's not immediately obvious that this thing is made of skateboard pieces and it takes a bit more effort to figure out what that is. We're also interested in the idea that you get a hint that it says something, and that kind of provokes a questioning, which I think makes the architecture much more conscious. The basic move is basically to take the canopy idea and to flip it on its side. So you produce a wall that can create just as much shade as a canopy can create, as long as it's tall enough and it's oriented correctly. We started to realize that it starts to have a dialogue with the visual context, the signs and the billboards that make up the skyline of Long Island City. We started to think about the legibility of a sign, which is really obvious, versus the legibility of architecture, which is something that's much more abstract, and to somehow play in between those two. To write wall with the letters would have been too much about the object and not in relation to the space that it was in. To reverse it and flip it so that the wall itself cast a shadow that says wall made it become much more about the ground and the sun. We knew that we had to be more creative about the way that we were thinking about materials than we were. We went to the Cornell Materials Research Lab, and they mentioned Comet Skateboards and the fact that they're an eco-friendly design company. I spoke to Pat Govang from Comet Skateboards, and he said, "You're not going to believe it, we just walked out of a meeting where we're discussing what will we do with our waste product." We had these two things at the same time. We had the wall of chairs and we had the wall of skateboard bones. While the skateboard pieces that we've been using for the facade with the cutouts are called bones, the uncut pieces are called blanks. And we're using the blanks on the bottom row of the wall. We're attaching legs and they'll become benches. So this is one of the bone panels, and you can see some of the bones stay intact and some of them get sliced so that they can be interwoven. And that means that rather than having panels that have openings like this, the openings become much smaller. There's a much finer grain to the wall, and it produces the kind of light that comes through the leaves of a tree. We have 3,000 of these bone pieces in the project, and instead of going on site with 3,000 pieces in a 5-week construction time, we decided that it would be wise to panelize those pieces, which means taking about 20 bones and weaving them together into 4x8 panels, so that when we get on site we have 150 panels to install instead of 3,000. It's really pretty amazing to be inside. The breeze still comes through, but the sun doesn't. You can see this nice kind of dappled light effect that it produces here. But what's pretty amazing about being in here is that it's so intimate. When from the outside this thing seems to be so kind of monstrous and intimidating. Every horizontal band, there's a kind of set of strip lights that run along there. The idea is that the lights kind of point towards the bags so that the bags have a kind of glowing effect, kind of like a chandelier. It's a really strange experience to see it realized, because on one hand we're so familiar with this, it looks like we designed it. You know, the structure, it's a slightly different color from the renderings, but otherwise it's identical. The panels have a little bit more three-dimensionality, but otherwise they're identical. So on one hand it seems really familiar, and we're saying to each other, yeah, of course, it's exactly what we planned. And then on the other hand, there's so many surprising effects that we didn't imagine. I think what's been really exciting today to see on the first day is the kids coming in and just saying whatever they think and running into the water, getting so excited. And yeah, all of those things, of course, they're not things that we normally think about in the renderings we have. And then on the inside, it's really very intimate. Even the acoustics seem to dampen the sound, and it seems much more intimate and warm in there.
We have all, myself and all of the volunteers and the whole Coda team, have really enjoyed ourselves. We've learned an amazing amount by being on site. We've learned technical things, but we've also learned about things like attitude, what it means to have a good attitude and to be willing to do things and to work hard. I'm very sad that this is finished because I would like to keep working on it. I've had such a good time and I think the whole team has had a good time. I don't think they'll let us do this again next year, but we definitely want to keep going.